Speaking of Man United, speaking of Manchester, though, it's the derby this weekend, boys. And how do you see it going, Willem?
You know, it's a tricky one because I don't rate Manchester United, but City have just been awful lately. And I feel like it would be foolish to just kind of dismiss their form to say that they'll win. I think I'm going to just go with the draw. I think it's going to be a game where there'll be big chances. And I think, if anybody wins, it just, I feel like it's so easy to say that whoever finishes the most chances. But I honestly don't know, what I think. It's actually crazy to predict this one. I want to say City win, but I wouldn't be surprised if United got something from this game. But yeah, I just don't know. Because you see Ruben Amorim, right? His last game with Sporting was against Man City, and they battered them. So maybe you could say, well, maybe Amorim's tactics, it does counteract how City are, also with their bad form. But then United don't have the same players that Amorim had at Sporting, so that could all kind of be thrown out. So I think I'm going to go with the draw, right? I don't know if I can pick either team to win, but I think it'll be an entertaining game, though, to be fair. I think City's defense and their midfield could be very easy to penetrate, right? I think that you guys will get your chances. It just depends on who's on the end of those, right? Is it going to be Højlund or Garnacho, Rashford, whoever? You guys are going to have to be clinical. But, yeah, I think it should be an entertaining game. But I'm going to honestly predict a 2-2 draw.
Do you know what, Will? This game, it's the first Manchester derby in a long time where you genuinely don't know what's going to go on. And I know that there's a cliche saying, form goes out the window. But I've been on many streams this week. It's like, how do you think this game's going to go? And I have to just take a minute to myself. I actually don't know.
There's no form to go out the window.
Yeah, because both teams are just crazy. Yeah, literally, there's none. Do you know what? If I had to pick a team, and this might shock you, I think United might nick it. Because one thing I will say, even when City were at their pomp, United were often City's kryptonite. I mean, Oli, with a team far less superior to City, was able to kind of stifle them. You make a good point. This game's so hard to predict. You're going off little details, like you just said, Will, a game with Sporting and City.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use that kind of as a blueprint, Amorim's kind of got one over Pep. Will that mean something in this game? It's very hard to predict this game, but I can just see a high scoring 3-2 for United. I don't know. It's just what my gut's telling me. And another thing I would say is, again, I'm having to go off little Mr. B as I'm trying much, but I think United's team is a bit more youthful, and I just think that could be a slight advantage. I think they can get around the pitch a bit more. City look very old. I'm now going on to little stupid things, but I just don't know. I thought for the last few days, United might just nick this.
Can I throw something out here as well? I wanted to get an opinion on before we. It's about the game, but we've seen Pep scratch his face apart, play with his balls on camera. He's told us today that he ain't sleeping, that he's got the 2 bob bits. That's Cockney rhyming slang for the shits, and he ain't digesting his food properly. He can only eat. He's so stressed with everything, he can only eat soup. I don't necessarily think that's a good message to your players. I think that in these moments, you almost need your manager, your head coach, the person leading you in training and on the pitch to be cool, calm, and collected. But he said something today that I thought was awfully strange. I get his point about you can't play as well without Rodri. It's a fair point. But he said you also can't play the same football when you don't have available the Premier League Player of the Year last year in Phil Foden. He's not been injured. He's been playing. And I just I listened to him say it and I thought to myself, it was almost incoherent to the point where I don't understand what he's saying. Phil Foden has been available. You do have him to play. He just hasn't delivered, along with Jack Grealish, who he massively praised. Doku, who he's been praising. Savio, who's played 20 games and hasn't scored. And I'm saying that, and I bet he fucking scores this weekend now. But it's football gods. But I'm listening to him talk, and I'm trying not to get carried away. But the more he talks, the more I believe Man United can get a result, because he truly, in my opinion, and this is what I wanted to throw out to you all, he sounds and looks lost.
Did anyone see the Rico thing the other day as well, off the yellow card that got him sent off, when he was like, it's Rico, and it made no sense as well. And it's like, he's never been in this position before in his whole career. Does he actually not know what to do?
Even the video, I heard that it might have been after the FA Cup final that they lost
The
against
Liverpool
United.
fan.
But but I think it was after our game. Some people said it's an old video, but trying to go up to the fan and whatnot, I don't think he's all there right now. He generally isn't. Again, and you speak to some City fans and whatnot, big up LB, but I was speaking to LB a couple of days ago, and he's like, I've not felt like this in 15 years. I don't really know how to deal with this.
And there's no rhyme or reason to it unless they're honest. So I've never seen a defending Premier League champion be this bad. I'm not talking about a Leicester or a team like that. I'm talking about a great Premier League or a great English champion. In my lifetime,
Chelsea under Mourinho, when we capitulated and Leicester won the league, we were awful.
That's a really good point. Did you win 1 game in 10? And
1 in 10, though.
We had a team that was good enough to win 3 in a row, and we capitulated.
Again, but I wouldn't call that a great team. That Chelsea team wasn't your great Chelsea team. The same as, I don't remember the Liverpool greats in the 70s. Man United's 2 great teams under Fergie. Fergie won 2 in 10 in the 01-02 season, but there was mitigating circumstances to make it one. He didn't lose 7 of those games, by the way, quite a lot of draws. But that was just after he announced his retirement. And then he readdressed it, and there was a reason it all fell apart. Fergie was going to leave, as an example. I just look at it and think, this is such a great team. It's gone. They've fallen off this season. But it's starting to feel more than bad form. The way he's behaving, him and the players are in different languages. No, we're playing really well. The players are like, no, we're playing awfully. The media have not really been critical of it at all. And if this was anybody else, the knives would be out. It's something weird going on at City, genuinely. Like, Man United are not a very good team, but we know why. It's 11 years of malpractice, awful squad building. We've not had a set start of playing that time that everyone, we know why we're bad. I know why Fergie's team fell off in 01-02, because he announced his retirement. Like, I can point at things. You know why Jose's team fell off, because the back end of that first season where you won the league, he'd lost a dressing room and you shouldn't have kept him. The point is, we knew why these things went wrong. When we look at this with this City team, the media keep trying to paint the picture that because Rodri's out and they've had a few injuries. No. They said a few weeks ago, as soon as Diaz comes back, defensively they'll be sound. They haven't been.
Yeah.
There are massive issues here that are not being addressed.
But I think that you kind of are downplaying the significance of not having Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne for a majority of the season. Like, that's arguably 2 of their best players. Like, if you, let's say with Manchester United, right? If you were missing your 2 best players for a majority of the season, I think you would look a lot worse than what you would if they were out.
I can push you back on that, though. So twice in Man United's Premier League time, we have lost other players, of course, but we lost Cantona after he flying kicked the racist in the 90s, and we lost Roy Keane a few years later to a cruciate knee ligament injury. We also lost our main 2 centre-backs, Rio and Vidic, for large parts of the 2009-2010 season, but that was also the year that we lost Ronaldo and we lost Tevez in the summer and didn't replace them. In all 3 of those seasons, we didn't look as good. But we were in that title race into almost the final days, and we finished a handful of points off top. When I look at City, I get you're not going to be as good without Rodri. I wouldn't deny that. You have injuries, you'll fall off a bit. But 1 win in 10, 7 defeats. They are dropping like a stone. And in those times, Fergie had his moments where he got angry with the media in that. But he wasn't behaving like this. The point I'm making is when you look at everything in isolation and then put it all together, I feel like this is more than just bad form. You know, if Pep would have announced 2 months ago that he's leaving at the end of the season and this happened, it would make complete sense, because you'd say that the players have just mentally switched off because they know he's leaving, you know. But there's so many things that have gone wrong at once. I can't just believe it's injuries. I can't.
Do you not think Fergie never had that because he was in control of absolutely everything? Everything at Manchester United went through Fergie, and he was able to have an element of control in every single situation. I don't know how much control Pep wants or has had in every single situation. So Pep Guardiola's team is obviously built slimly, and he wants it to be slim. But Ferguson was well aware of who was in his academy, who could deal, who he could turn to, who he could trust. I'm not sure Pep knows where those options are.
But it isn't just Fergie, because people say, behave, Terry, United didn't ever do 4 in a row. We didn't, but we've done seasons where we've competed for the title 5, 6, 7 years in a row, and like one in the middle we missed out on, and we remain competitive. There are other teams that have won 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 league titles on the bounce and then didn't have this. And I'm talking about the drop off of a great team. And for me, that's when I listened to him today speak about Phil Foden. I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think Pep's behavior is going to help fix his team. He is behaving so erratically. I don't think that's the right energy to send it. Because listen, they're going to respect him, but I think they're going to look at him and think, who's this? Because he ain't acting like Pep.
Yeah, I think it's just it's leadership. I mean, I think and I know people are gonna. It doesn't have to be necessarily Sir Alex Ferguson. It can be other managers that do. I can relate it to, for instance, Eddie Howe. I know people are going to be saying, "Oh, mid-table team," but if you ever do watch a press conference and you watch a manager that's in the trenches constantly, it's like Eddie Howe and those type of managers. Then you can see who keeps their cool. They know the team ain't doing well. So Alex Ferguson knows there was times when Man United weren't doing well, but it's how you respond. And if your players are looking at you and you're scratching your eyes out, they're going to have the same response. What are they going to do if Man United go 1-0 up, maybe 2-0 up, almost by accident? What are they going to do? How are they going to respond? They're going to see Guardiola kicking bottles and kicking chairs at his assistant coach, and then kind of muttering inexplicable words on the pitch, instructions they don't understand. This is the time where you really get to see how good a lead, not manager, not coach, but how good a leader you really have. And sometimes, and at the moment, Guardiola is I don't think he is this person, but the way he's acting, he's acting like someone who's never come across this adversity before. Like he's that this is the first time he's ever come across it, and he's acting like that type of person. If you look at Alex Ferguson, who came from managing Aberdeen, all these type. If you even look into his background, where he was I think he was managing a pub at one point as well. That's a person that's come from the trenches. Same as Eddie Howe, he had bailiffs at Bournemouth. So when you see these guys at press conferences and their team's gone dipped a little bit, you got cool, calm, and collected. And then you go to your players and you tell them in private or in person what's going wrong. But when you're falling apart at the touchline and the oppositions are seeing you like that, you let your whole team down.
It's the one accusation that's been, listen, and someone a few minutes ago said, Terry, what are you trying to say? I'm not making any statements. I'm pointing out the problems that I see, and I'm confused as to why they're being protected. But there's been an accusation thrown at Pep for many years, and that's that without the perfect blend of players, he cannot make his system work. And this is the first time that theory is being tested. This is the first time that, people have always said, oh, listen, if he went and took over, I don't fucking know, Fulham, he could get them to win the league with his style. I think we're getting answers now that show maybe he couldn't. Without the very best available and attainable in the world, does he struggle? We're seeing that at the moment, because I don't care they won the league 4 years on the bounce. I expect him to find a solution, not just in the transfer window, to stop being so easy to create chances against. This is not. We're not sitting here. We're asking Pep to do something that we would bemoan a relegation level manager in the Premier League. Okay, now look how open they are at the back. Why are they leaking so many chances? We have a pop at managers down the bottom of the table for not making their teams harder to break down. But yet the mainstream media in England just gives Pep an easy ride. And I'm not, again, criticizing Pep right now isn't saying, right, let's take away all of his achievements. It's just crazy to me. That will be.